Visiting my boyfriend's family, I never imagined I was having dinner with two ghosts. They doted on me, but only to keep me until nightfall. And he, the one I trusted most, whispered in my ear, "If you die, this entire ghost community will live on." On our 1-year anniversary, my boyfriend, Ryan, suddenly suggested I meet his parents. I was overjoyed and nervous, knowing he was hinting at marriage. I bought some gifts, and together, Ryan and I took a train to his hometown. Ryan's home was on the outskirts of a small, Tier 4 city in the western region. The neighborhood looked somewhat deserted, and the residential management clearly wasn't doing a good job. However, Ryan's parents were incredibly kind. They'd prepared a lavish feast, barely touching their own food, constantly serving me and chatting amiably. Their enthusiasm made me feel a little shy. After dinner, I offered to wash the dishes. Ryan's mother quickly stopped me. "Oh no, dear, you're our guest. How can we let you do that?" I insisted, taking a dish and headed to the kitchen. "You've worked so hard cooking all these dishes, let me help." Ryan's mother still wouldn't give in, trying to gently pull the dish from my hand. Just as I squeezed out some dish soap, she gave a sudden tug, sending the soap straight into my left eye. "Ah," I cried, clutching my eye. Both of Ryan's parents looked startled. I heard his father's voice, "Nin, are you all right?" I looked up, still holding my eye, trying to force a reassuring smile. But then I froze, because with only my right eye to see, I realized Ryan's parents had vanished. Ever since I was very young, I discovered my left eye could see things other children couldn't. I could see my deceased grandfather smiling and waving at me, and even the woman who had hanged herself in our home library. My parents, realizing my peculiarity, took me to a spiritual medium. She told me I possessed a yin-yang eye, but only one. Therefore, my left eye could perceive spirits and deities, but at the same time, it meant I had a pure yin body with an exceptionally strong yang essence. A pure yin eye meant that no matter what manifestation spells ghosts used, my right eye couldn't see them. It could only perceive objects in the mortal realm. The medium also said, "My yin-yang eye isn't scary. As long as I don't provoke those entities, I won't encounter trouble." The method for distinguishing entities was simple. If I closed my left eye, my right eye could tell if someone was alive or dead. Even ghosts couldn't appear visibly to my right eye. So, from childhood, whenever I entered a new environment, I would secretly close my left eye and scan the area with my right to check for any unclean presences. But today, visiting Ryan's home, I hadn't done that. Because when I walked in, I only saw Ryan and his parents. Naturally, I assumed it was a clean place. But now, through my right eye, Ryan's parents were gone. What did that mean? It meant they weren't human. A wave of icy dread surged up my spine. Just then, Ryan's mother's voice echoed, Nin, how are you?" The kitchen was clearly empty, yet her voice rang in my ears. I suppressed a shiver, forcing a smile. "I'm fine, just got a little water in my eye." I wiped my left eye clean and opened it. Sure enough, Ryan's parents were standing before me, looking concerned. I feigned rubbing my eye, secretly closing my left eye for a moment. Ryan's parents vanished instantly. My heart sank to my stomach. "What's going on?" a clear voice asked. I looked up to see Ryan walking in. His parents quickly spoke up. Nin got some soap in her eye, we're worried about her." Ryan rushed over to me, asking worriedly, Nin, are you okay?" I didn't answer. I pretended to keep rubbing my eye, cautiously closing my left eye again to look at Ryan. He stood there, perfectly normal. My strained nerves relaxed just a tiny bit. Thank goodness, at least he was still alive. But the next second, I felt a strange sense of absurdity. Ryan and I had been intimate all night, skin touching. If he weren't alive, how could I not have known? Perhaps his presence gave me some courage. I finally calmed down, smiling at Ryan's parents. "I'm perfectly fine, uncle and auntie." Only then did they breathe a sigh of relief. After I finished washing the dishes, his parents said they'd go out to buy some fresh fruit for me. Once they left, I started questioning Ryan. From his description, I learned his parents were retired factory workers who rarely socialized. That made sense. Ghostly parents wouldn't usually interact with anyone, so it was normal that their sudden deaths might not have been discovered immediately. Ryan also told me that his parents had actively suggested he bring me home this time. "I don't know why, but a few days ago they suddenly insisted I bring you back. They must be eager to meet their future daughter-in-law," Ryan said with a smile, but my blood ran cold. A few days ago, but his parents were already dead then. Two ghosts insisting on meeting me, what exactly did they want? I looked at Ryan, suddenly realizing I should tell him the truth, so I opened my mouth. Ryan, do you know, your parents, they're actually deceased. Ryan was stunned at first, then a little angry. Nin, that's not funny at all. I knew he didn't believe me, so I fully explained about my yin-yang left eye. But Ryan still didn't believe me. He just held me concerned. Nin, have you been under a lot of stress lately? Should we see a therapist? It turned out he thought I was going crazy. I was at my wit's end, so I said, if you truly don't believe me, let's try something. You know that scattering rice in front of the door can ward off ghosts, right? That's because rice can mask their evil aura, making it impossible for them to clearly see the entrance. If you truly believe your parents are alive, then open the main door and scatter a handful of rice outside. If they're human, they'll walk right in. But if they're ghosts, they'll perceive the door as closed and won't find their way inside. Over the years, thanks to my yin-yang eye, I'd learned a fair bit of knowledge and courage from the medium. Today, I could put it to use. Ryan looked at me disbelievingly, but at least he did as I said. Not long after the doorbell chimed, Ryan's parents were back. Carrying fruit, they called from the hallway, "Ryan, come help us with the fruit." Ryan glanced at me, his expression saying, "See, I told you everything was fine." Then he got up and walked to the door. But the next second, he abruptly stopped. He saw his parents approaching the wide-open front door, but their feet suddenly halted. Immediately, his mother called out, "Ryan, what are you doing? Open the door for us." I saw Ryan's face drain of color because the door was clearly open. Ryan almost trembled as he spoke. "Mom, Dad, we're a bit busy. Can you come in yourselves?" His father impatiently replied, "We're carrying so much. How can we open the door? Come out quickly." I didn't know if it was my imagination, but his mother's voice now sounded shrill, echoing through the empty hallway. Ryan's face grew even paler, but he quickly composed himself. He whispered, "It's best not to anger them now. Just pretend we don't know anything." As he spoke, he stepped towards the door, subtly kicking away the rice on the floor, then feigned opening the already open door. "Uncle and Auntie, you're back?" His father looked annoyed. "Why didn't you open the door earlier?" He glared at me ominously while I pretended to blush. "Ryan kept holding me back. We didn't think you'd be back so soon," I said, bowing my head to appear more embarrassed. His parents seemed to understand. "Oh, youngsters." His mother chuckled, said no more, and walked in. We casually ate some fruit, then they made an excuse to go to bed early. His family wasn't old-fashioned, so they let Ryan and me share a room. I breathed a sigh of relief. With 2 ghosts in the house, I wouldn't dare sleep alone. Later that night, nestled in bed, we whispered. Nin, Ryan said. "I've been thinking. Even though my parents are gone, they still love me very much. Maybe they're just worried about me and wanted to see my girlfriend one last time before moving on." I felt a pang of sorrow. For Ryan, losing his loved ones was probably more painful than any fear. Then Ryan asked me, "But there's one thing I don't understand. If my parents are ghosts, why can I still see them? I don't have yin-yang eyes. Can ghosts make themselves visible to ordinary people?" I murmured. "They must have intentionally used a manifestation spell so you wouldn't realize they weren't pure yang beings." I continued. "His parents invited me home, which means they knew I could see their manifestations. While I don't know if they knew I had yin-yang eyes, it suggests that I wasn't a pure yang person when I came here, which is why I detected their abnormality." I then added quietly, "I hope they just wanted to see you one last time and don't intend to harm anyone." Ryan frowned. "How can we know if they want to harm us?" I was silent for a moment, then said, "Midnight is when yin energy is strongest for ghosts. If they intend to harm us, they'll act tonight. Conversely, if they don't seek us out tonight, then we'll be safe." Ryan was about to speak, but at that exact moment, knock, 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 a knock echoed from the door, accompanied by Ryan's mother's gentle voice. "Ryan, Nin, are you two asleep?" I felt Ryan's arm around me stiffen. A chilling cold spread down my spine, but I tried to remain calm, pretending to be natural. "What is it, Auntie? We were just about to sleep." Her gentle voice came from outside the door. "It's like this. I just downloaded a phone app and neither your uncle nor I can figure it out. We were hoping Ryan could help." Her voice was as gentle as ever, but the cold sensation down my back intensified. "But Ryan is already asleep, Auntie," I replied, glancing at Ryan, signaling him not to speak. "Is it urgent? If not, could it wait until tomorrow?" I'd heard Ryan say his parents doted on him. If they were normal, they would never wake their sleeping son just to look at a phone app. But what if they were now ghosts, driven by resentment? Before I could continue my thought, Ryan's mother spoke decisively. Oh, Ryan's asleep. All right then. It's not urgent. Tomorrow morning is fine. Then silence. Ryan and I froze. Was that it? I looked at Ryan, saw his startled expression, then his sigh of relief. See, Nin, I told you. My parents are probably just lingering as ghosts because they're so attached to me. He whispered in my ear, they definitely won't hurt anyone. Indeed, judging by his mother's reaction, it seemed they truly didn't want to harm us. But for some reason, anxiety still gnawed at me. I got out of bed. I'll go check if the door is locked. I walked to the door, intending to check the lock when I suddenly bent down to look at something and froze. Under the gap of Ryan's room door, there seemed to be something dark. I'm nearsighted and wasn't wearing my glasses, plus the lights were off, so I could only rely on the street lights and moonlight from the window, making it hard to see clearly. I squatted down to see what it was. Ryan's room door had a slightly unusual design. The door itself was wooden, but at the very bottom, a wave pattern was carved out, with transparent glass inserts allowing a view outside. So I squatted down, and first I saw what was under the door gap. Hair. Woman's hair. A large clump of it was pushed through the gap. I was stunned. Before I could process why there was a clump of hair under my door, instinct made me look up at the perforated glass panel at the bottom of the door. And I saw Ryan's mother, lying prone on the floor outside, her face pressed against the glass, eyes wide open, staring intently at me. Ah! I shrieked, completely unprepared for such a sight. My whole body screamed and I collapsed to the floor. Nin, what's wrong? Ryan, hearing my scream, rushed to help me up. I cowered in Ryan's arms, yelling uncontrollably, Ryan, it's your mother, she hasn't left. She's pressed against the door, peeking at us. Ryan's face changed color as he quickly looked towards the door. But to his surprise, when he looked, he found the bottom glass panel showed only a dark, empty hallway. Ryan's mother was nowhere to be seen. Ryan now frowned at me. Nin, my mom left. Did you see wrong? I definitely didn't see wrong, I insisted, agitated. Your mother was really lying on the floor outside, peeking at us. Perhaps envisioning the scene I described, Ryan's face also paled, but he still comforted me. Nin, you know it too. My parents aren't alive anymore. Perhaps their behavior is a bit strange, but I trust they won't harm me. Clearly, from Ryan's perspective, he would never believe his parents would intend to harm him. But I didn't dare trust them as he did. I was about to say something, but Ryan spoke first. Nin, look, if my parents truly wanted to harm us, why would they argue with us at the door and then leave immediately? Could a mere door stop two ghosts? The words caught in my throat. He had a point. With my Yin-Yang eye, I knew quite a bit about spirits. A mere door couldn't stop a ghost. If Ryan's parents wanted to do anything to us, they could simply walk through. I was convinced. But I still said, Still, we need to be careful tonight. We leave as soon as it's morning. Ryan agreed. Yes, we'll leave tomorrow. That whole night, Ryan and I couldn't close our eyes. His parents didn't come for us again. The next morning, we told Ryan's parents that we had to leave immediately. Ryan's mother's eyes widened, her face clearly showing disappointment. So soon? Didn't you promise to stay a few more days? Something urgent came up at work, Ryan said, unable to meet her gaze directly. My boss suddenly called. If I don't go back, I'll lose my job. I pretended to eat my breakfast with my head down, but in reality, I was secretly observing Ryan's parents' reactions. They looked sad but didn't press the issue, quickly nodding. If it's about work, then so be it. Seeing how agreeable they were, we finally felt completely relieved. Perhaps it was truly as Ryan said, they just wanted to see their son and his girlfriend one last time before moving on. Even though they agreed to let us leave, Ryan's parents still insisted we stay for lunch. I figured it was bright daylight. A few extra hours wouldn't hurt, so I agreed. All morning, Ryan's parents were busy in the kitchen, preparing a sumptuous lunch. Because they cooked so much, after lunch, they even brought out many local specialties for us to take home. We finally left the house at 3:00 p.m. Ryan's parents said they would see us off at the community gate, but to our surprise, when we reached the elevator door, we found the elevator lights were off. This management company? Ryan's father frowned, annoyed. The elevator must have broken down again last night and they haven't fixed it. Let's take the stairs. Luckily, Ryan's apartment was only on the 5th floor. Taking the stairs wouldn't be too bad. We started descending the stairs. With each step, my tension eased. Once we were out of this building, in broad daylight, I wouldn't have to worry anymore. Then I would tell Ryan to investigate the true cause of his parents' deaths and find a master to perform a ritual. Everything would be fine. As I was idly thinking, I suddenly realized something was wrong. Ryan's apartment was only on the 5th floor, so why had we been walking for so long and still hadn't reached the 1st floor? I looked up through the nearby window and suddenly felt my blood turn to ice. I couldn't be mistaken. The apartment we had just descended from had a bright red, Fu blessing good fortune character hanging on its door, identical to the one on Ryan's front door. Trembling, I looked up at the apartment number above. For a moment, I felt like I'd fallen into an ice cave, my whole body chilling. It was Ryan's apartment number. I grabbed Ryan. He had been absent-mindedly walking beside me until my tug startled him awake. "What's wrong, Nin?" I gripped Ryan's sleeve, almost shaking as I said, "Look at the apartment number." Ryan looked up. He didn't have special eyes, but how could he not recognize his own home? His face immediately went pale. At this point, both he and I instinctively stopped walking, but his parents paid no attention to our distress and continued ahead. Just then, a bizarre scene unfolded. His parents had clearly gone down and disappeared from our sight. But a second later, I suddenly heard footsteps echoing from above again. Thump, thump, I snapped my head up. His parents, who had just gone down, were now appearing on the stairs above us. They descended beside us, and this time, perhaps just noticing our hesitation, they looked puzzled. "Ryan, Nin, why aren't you two moving?" In that moment, I felt all the blood rush to my head. I absolutely didn't want to answer Ryan's parents. I just grabbed Ryan and quickly said, "Where are your house keys?" Ryan, now fully alert, fumbled to hand me the keys. I snatched them, raced back to his apartment, opened the door at top speed, and burst inside. "Rice!" I yelled as soon as I entered. Ryan finally reacted, storming into the kitchen like a whirlwind, grabbing the rice and fiercely throwing it out the door. His parents, who had by then realized what was happening and were trying to follow, stopped dead in their tracks the moment the rice scattered. We took that chance and slammed the door shut. Though the entire process lasted only a few dozen seconds, when I was done, I felt completely drained of all strength. I slid down the wall, collapsing helplessly to the floor. Ryan, also pale, looked at me. Nin, that was a ghost wall just now," I wearily said. "Your parents did it." A ghost wall is when ghosts use their demonic power to trap people in a space. No matter how you walk, you can't escape. It's like a loop, always returning to the starting point. This wasn't my first ghost wall encounter. When I was little, a ghost child wanted to play with me. I refused, so it created a ghost wall that kept me from leaving that road. My parents eventually realized I hadn't come home, invited the medium to find me, and finally got me out. Ryan's face grew even paler. "Why did my parents trap us? What do they want?" I curled my lip cynically. "Isn't it obvious? They want to keep us here until nightfall." While ghosts can create ghost walls during the day, the yang energy is too strong, so they can't truly harm us. But at night, that's different. Ryan shivered, looking towards the door. But to his shock, the moment he looked, he gasped and fell to the floor. "What's wrong?" I quickly got up, glanced through the peephole myself, and immediately understood his terror. His parents were right outside the door again, crowding the peephole, staring intensely. So the moment I looked through the peephole, I was face to face with their distorted faces and eyes. But after the scare last night, my psychological resilience had significantly improved. I calmly said, "See. They're not rushing in, they're just waiting for nightfall." Ryan now fully believed me and urgently asked, "So, what should we do now?" I already had a plan in my mind, so I didn't hesitate. "Call the police." Ryan froze at my words. "Call the police? For ghosts? They won't believe us at all," I quickly interjected. "Of course, you can't tell them we're facing ghosts. Tell them you found a corpse and to come immediately. The yang energy and righteousness of police officers are the strongest. Ghosts don't dare touch them. Then this ghost wall will shatter on its own, and we can leave instantly." Ghosts fear those with strong yang energy the most, and soldiers and police officers possess the most potent yang energy. So, if you encounter ghosts, run straight towards military barracks or police stations. They won't dare pursue. Over the years, I've used this method a few times to escape from disturbing entities. Ryan immediately understood, quickly taking out his phone to call the police. "Hello, is this 911? I found a corpse in the house." "Yes, please come quickly." At this moment, Ryan finally got smart. He wasn't entirely wrong. It was very possible his parents had died right here in the house, and their bodies might still be inside. If the police came to investigate the cause of their deaths, perhaps it could even help his parents find peace. While Ryan was on the phone, I instinctively looked through the peephole, but the moment I peered out, I saw Ryan's parents had vanished. Had they moved to the other end of the stairs? Or were they planning something? Were they waiting for nightfall? As I was pondering, Ryan hung up and rushed to hug me tightly. "Don't worry, Nin," he whispered. "I won't let anything happen to you." Time ticked by. I must say, the police response speed in Ryan's area was truly excellent. Soon enough, I heard the wail of police sirens. I quickly pulled Ryan to the balcony, looking down to see several police cars parked below. Officers got out and headed into the building. My tense nerves instantly relaxed. "Fantastic," I murmured, gripping Ryan's hand. "The police are here. As soon as they come upstairs, I bet this ghost wall will crumble and we can go down." From my observations, the resentment from Ryan's parents wasn't too heavy. They weren't the kind of malevolent spirits that a handful of rice couldn't deter. So, once the police arrived, there was an 80% chance the ghost wall wouldn't hold. Ryan also breathed a sigh of relief, but the very next second, he suddenly saw something downstairs. His face changed drastically, and he yelled, Nin, watch out." I spun my head around, and seeing the scene behind me was instantly terrified. I saw Ryan's parents. The two of them, well over 60, were clinging to the outer wall beside the balcony, like two large, hideous geckos clinging to the wall in the balcony space. At this moment, I understood why his parents had suddenly left the peephole earlier. Perhaps they knew we would call the police and realized their time was running out. So, instead of waiting around, they had chosen to act immediately. They couldn't enter through the main door because of the scattered rice. So they must have gone out through the stairwell and climbed from the outside onto the balcony. Ryan's balcony wasn't completely enclosed. Although I had locked the balcony door when I went out earlier, his parents paid no attention. They simply started pounding on the window with their hands. Thump, 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 thump. They kept hitting, seemingly unfazed by pain. The window was being struck relentlessly. It would shatter any moment. I was aghast, but Ryan reacted faster, grabbing my hand and yelling, Nin, run." Only then did I snap back to my senses, letting him drag me towards the main door. But unexpectedly at that very moment, crash. Under the violent impacts from Ryan's parents, the balcony window finally shattered. Shards of glass rained down, and his parents leapt inside. They no longer resembled people over 60. Their movements were eerily agile. The moment they were in, they pursued us who were running towards the door. "Don't go," his mother shrieked, her voice no longer gentle but shrill and heartbreaking. "I can't let my son go." As she spoke, she lunged, grabbing Ryan with one hand. "Ryan," I screamed, also pulling Ryan. But to my surprise, Ryan let go of my hand. "Go," he yelled at me. Nin, go on your own first," I cried, but before I could finish, he cut me off. Nin, go quickly and lead the police here. Don't worry about me, they're my birth parents, they won't harm me." I knew his words weren't true. The dead, turned into ghosts, couldn't think with normal human reasoning. But I also knew that staying here wouldn't help. Quickly bringing the police up or finding a powerful exorcist was more important. So I gritted my teeth, resolute, and dashed straight out the door. Bursting out the door, the elevator was still out of order. I frantically ran down the stairs. As soon as I descended a floor, I heard footsteps. My eyes lit up immediately. The ghost wall had truly been broken. I rushed down, shouting, "Here, here!" The footsteps downstairs quickened. Indeed, it was several police officers. They looked startled, greeted me. "Hello, ma'am. Are you the one who called?" "It's me." I cut them off. "Let's go upstairs quickly." My pale face must have frightened the officers too. They said no more, just nodded quickly. We quickly rushed back into Ryan's apartment. The moment we entered, we saw Ryan lying on the floor, eyes closed, motionless. His parents had vanished. "Ryan!" I rushed to him, touching him, and confirmed he was still breathing, his body warm. He seemed only unconscious. Only then did I breathe a sigh of relief. The police, meanwhile, quickly began to search the apartment. "Miss," an officer approached me, "we'll investigate this place. Please take your boyfriend to the hospital first, then come to the station to give a statement, okay?" I finally cleared my head and nodded, watching two officers carry Ryan out. I followed them, constantly feeling that something was off, but my suddenly relaxed nerves left my mind blank, like a fried brain. For a moment, I couldn't pinpoint what was wrong. We entered the stairwell. The elevator was still broken, so we continued down the stairs. We descended floor by floor, and I made sure to watch the decreasing apartment numbers. Only then did I truly relax. Was this finally over? Thinking this, I felt a wave of relief after the ordeal, suddenly wanting to cry, but feeling a bit embarrassed, so I just bowed my head and gently wiped away my tears. I secretly wiped my right eye first, then my left. But as I wiped my left eye, in that instant, my steps suddenly halted, because when my left eye was closed, I was only seeing with my right. And so, I realized the two police officers carrying Ryan in front of me had vanished. My steps froze. A cold current rose from my back, shooting straight to the top of my head. The very next second, I heard a concerned voice in my ear. "Miss, are you all right?" I looked up using both eyes and saw two police officers in front of me. One was carrying Ryan, the other was looking at me worriedly. My fingers trembled, but I forced a smile. "I'm fine, let's go." So I continued downstairs, but then I secretly closed my left eye again, and I saw that both police officers had vanished, leaving only Ryan's figure floating in midair, bizarre beyond belief. My blood ran cold. These two police officers were also ghosts. Or perhaps all the officers upstairs were ghosts. I struggled to keep my composure, eventually reaching the first floor. I saw the two officers open the building door, and the moment the door opened, I unexpectedly pushed them hard and ran out frantically. I hadn't realized how long the commotion had taken. It was already 5:00 p.m. Ryan's house was in the north and it was winter, so it was completely dark. His neighborhood was poorly managed, streetlights were dim, and several were out, leaving the whole area pitch black. But I didn't have time to think much. I just ran wildly forward. I didn't understand why the police who came were ghosts, but many previous strange occurrences suddenly made sense. Why didn't the police ask for details when they saw us? Why didn't they call for an ambulance immediately when they saw Ryan unconscious? All those obvious signs that something was wrong. Was it all orchestrated by his parents? But were their abilities that powerful? My mind was a mess. I couldn't find an answer. Only one thought remained: I had to get out of here. Leave this place. I ran like mad, not looking where I was going, carelessly bumping into someone. "Oh, child, what's wrong with you?" I looked up to see an old lady carrying groceries. I clutched her hand, shaking as I screamed, "Ghosts, there are ghosts there." At this point, I truly didn't care if people thought I was crazy. I just wanted to get out of there quickly. The old lady also looked startled, quickly saying, "Oh dear, your face is so pale. You're not possessed, are you? Come on, I'll take you to where there are more people walking around." This neighborhood, though old, was quite large. Running alone earlier, I had truly lost my bearings and didn't know where the main gate was. Plus, being in an unfamiliar place, meeting someone so enthusiastic made me feel somewhat at ease. I eagerly followed the old lady out. But after a few steps, I suddenly realized something. So that she wouldn't notice, I secretly closed my left eye and looked up. My blood ran cold once more because the grocery-buying old lady had vanished. The grocery-buying old lady wasn't human after all. My steps immediately froze, and the old lady, noticing, instantly turned to look at me. "What's wrong, child?" At this moment, I truly realized something was off. This old lady said she would take me out, take me to a crowded place. Yet we kept walking, and I still didn't see the community gate. All around was just darkness and eerie space. I had been tricked again. In the depths of my fear and despair, I suddenly became eerily calm. I trembled as I asked, Are you all accomplices? How many of you are there truly? This many ghosts can't be a coincidence." Then there's only one possibility. From the very beginning, I walked into a giant trap, a trap full of ghosts. The grocery-buying old lady looked startled, then gave a helpless chuckle. "So you figured it out, have you? All right, Ryan, stop hiding. Come out and explain everything clearly to your girlfriend." I gasped, turning my head to see many people emerging from the shadows. Those people were Ryan's parents and Ryan himself. I finally understood something, screaming uncontrollably, "Ryan, you tricked me." It was then that I realized I had been wrong from the very beginning. I had assumed that because Ryan was human, he was on my side. I thought he didn't know his parents were dead, only that they were uneasy, and he genuinely wanted to escape with me. But I was wrong. Perhaps Ryan had known from the start and was just putting on an act for me, pretending to want to leave with me, but maybe he never wanted to go. That's why, when we called the police earlier, he probably didn't call anyone at all, and in the end, those who came weren't real police officers, but ghosts disguised as them. Ryan sighed softly. Nin, tell me, why do you always have to figure everything out so clearly? Wouldn't it be better to just die without knowing?" Ryan's voice was gentle, but I was on the verge of collapse. "What in the world is going on? What do you want? And where did all these ghosts come from? Why did you find ghosts to pretend to be police?" "Who said they were pretending?" Ryan replied. "They were asterisk police officers, they just died." I was stunned as Ryan calmly continued. Nin, do you know? My parents didn't die recently, they died many, many years ago. I had miscalculated again. This was another error due to my hasty assumptions. I'd assumed Ryan's parents had just passed, so my first reaction was that their deaths were recent. But to my shock, they had been dead for a very long time, and as their son, Ryan couldn't possibly not know. Ryan went on, they died in a plane crash. But after death, they couldn't bear to leave me, they didn't want to be reincarnated, so I found a place for them to live together, this place. A ghost apartment complex, I gasped, stunned once more. Ryan nodded. That's right. This apartment complex isn't actually for the living. Each apartment contains an urn of ashes. If the urns are kept here, souls who don't wish to be reincarnated can live here too. That's how this complex became home to so many ghosts. I involuntarily looked around. No wonder this apartment complex looked so deserted. It wasn't for the living. Thinking of how many ghostly eyes were staring at me from all around, how many eyes were treating me like their chicken or duck, goosebumps erupted all over my skin. So, I stammered, those police officers and the grocery-buying old lady just now are all ghosts living here. Ryan nodded. I finally broke down. So you all just live here happily. What does that have to do with me? Ryan softly said, of course it has something to do with you. Nin, don't you know that your birth chart is a pure yin one? My body suddenly stiffened. I knew it. I was a pure yin person, which was why I had the yin-yang eye. That's what the medium had told me since childhood. Ryan continued. My parents couldn't bear to leave me and be reincarnated, but they've stayed too long. If they continue, their souls will be damaged. Not just them, but all the ghost residents here are unwilling to leave, so we consulted a Taoist priest. He said, all you need to do is find a girl with a pure yin birth chart to die in this residential area. Her resentment can nourish all the ghosts in the complex. Everyone can stay here wonderfully. So this was Ryan's true intention. Perhaps from the very beginning, he approached me, pursued me, and loved me precisely because of my birth chart. You're insane, I cried. Your parents are dead. You should find someone to help them cross over so they can be reincarnated sooner. Using this kind of dark magic to keep them in the mortal realm, do you think that's good for them? But Ryan wouldn't listen to my advice. His eyes read, he just said, Nin, you don't know how important my parents are to me. Even if they're ghosts, it doesn't matter, as long as they can be by my side. So please sacrifice yourself for me. With that, he suddenly lunged at me, gripping my neck. I tried to resist, but I was no match for Ryan, a large man. I couldn't breathe. Lack of oxygen made my eyelids darken. And just then, asterisk boom, a burst of golden light suddenly erupted from my chest. Ryan shrieked and fell backward. I was stunned, looking down to see a protective charm fall from my body. It was a protective charm my grandmother had prayed for me at the temple before she passed away. In that instant, I heard a familiar, warm voice. My child, run! Only then did I regain my senses, rushing towards the door. This time, the path ahead miraculously led straight to the community gate. I crashed into a group of college students returning from a late-night meal. They were terrified by my deathly pale, wild-eyed face. Are you okay, miss? What's wrong? I looked up, closing my left eye. They were still there, alive. I was out. After that, I reported Ryan to the police for attempted murder, and he was arrested. I changed jobs, phone numbers, and many other details, then left the old city. The incident simply faded away. Later, I asked my father and learned that the protective charm wasn't from my grandmother, but from my mother, who had gone to the temple and copied Buddhist scriptures for 10 days and 10 nights to pray for me. On the other end of the line, my father told me, it wasn't just that one. Your mother prayed for many more, each time copying scriptures for several nights straight. She said your birth chart was special, and with your yin-yang eye, you easily attracted unclean things. She needed many protective charms to feel at ease. My nose suddenly tingled. In this world, the greatest love is indeed parental love. But there is a love that is selfless protection, and then there is a love that is about harming others to stay together. The first kind of love is truly great. The second is merely synonymous with selfishness.